Hello everybody, welcome to a garage review and gameplay review actually, because I have replays for the M10 Wolverine. Now this is the M36 Jackson, which is the tank that comes after the Wolverine. I know. I sold the Wolverine, just out of habit. I always sell a tank when I move up. I should have kept it so that I could have had it in the garage here. But oh well. Jackson is, of course, a tier... the Wolverine is, of course, a tier 5 American turreted tank destroyer. Now, thing is, it's not the American tier 5 turret tank destroyer. It's one of the American turreted tank destroyers. Tier 5 tank destroyers. Jeez, that's a lot of words, isn't it? Because the alternative is the T-49. Which I also have played and unlocked everything except for the tier 10 radio. Now, which I prefer, without a doubt, and very easily, is the Wolverine. I know that a lot of people really like this line of tanks. The Hellcat and the T-49. I've never played the Hellcat. Obviously, I don't have it unlocked, but I felt a lot more lured to the heavily armoured, super heavy tank destroyer line here, like the T-28 and the T-95. Looks like brilliant fun. Whereas these things are a bit more fragile. I mean, they're not fragile, but they're considerably more fragile. So I went with this line. Anyway, the Wolverine. Very much best played as a sniper, in my opinion. With, I think fully upgraded, it had about 360 health. So, I mean, you can't take that into battle. And it has enough hull armor to get one shot by most tier 5 derp guns, which is pretty awful. It does indeed have 51 hull armor on the front. And I mean, it's reasonably well angled. It's on the same hull as this, so we can look at this one. It is reasonably well angled. However, most derp cannon shells have a fair old arc to them, so they come along and they actually hit you fairly well square on, rather than just hitting you forward like that. They tend to have a downwards arc to them, so they're getting a decent angle. Anyway, I'm talking from experience. I got one shot a lot in that tank, with derp cannons. And, oops. Something that's quickly worth noting as well is that this second turret, when you look at the stats, appears useless. It weighs more, has the same view range, the same armor, and a slower traverse speed. However, it increases rate of fire. And I assume the same thing goes for the Jackson's second turret, which appears fairly useless, except that it weighs more. It's not. It increases rate of fire, which is kind of weird. I've never seen a stat effect like that on a turret, but I've never really been looking for it because I didn't know that was a thing until now. Other things for the Wolverine is this tier 9 radio. I strongly recommend it, because otherwise, with this 395, you'll be able to see further than your radio at some points, because I fitted it with binocular telescope, camo net, and a gun rammer. I just literally swapped all the equipment onto this Jackson. So, I might swap over to the World of Tank viewer, model viewer, so you can actually see the Wolverine rather than having to look at the Jackson. But yeah, this gun was my favorite gun. There is the M4's derp gun, which I didn't even unlock because I know that gun already, and I know that on this tank I would not want it. So I went for this. With a 1.7 aiming time and an 0.38 accuracy, it's fairly decent at long range. Its real downside for me was the penetration. 128 at the range you're going to be firing this thing, which is often like 400 and upwards of that. 128 is kind of low. Now, obviously, you could just say, well, load some gold rounds. 177 penetration on those, but I really don't like to kind of lean on that as a way of overcoming a tank's weaknesses. I don't like to think of gold rounds as a means of defeating a weakness in a tank. I would much rather try and adapt a playstyle to work, and, I barely fired any gold rounds out of this tank. The only times I fired them was when I was in Tier 7 matchups, which is where this tank is at its weakest, in my opinion. If we just quickly go to my service record, I didn't play that many games in it, but I did get a mastery badge, and the reason I didn't play many games in it is because my average experience in it was 567 with a 68% win rate after 28 games. So I didn't have to play many games in this tank to get to the Jackson. And I'm an average player, by the way. Just under 50% win rate at 1,833 battles. I'm not like a pro. And that's kind of why I'm doing these, because a lot of very, very good World of Tanks players are on YouTube. And I thought that maybe your average World of Tanks player needs to come and give his opinion on things. So that's why I'm here. So with the Wolverine, I had quite a high average experience with battle. So I only had to play 28 battles in it with a little bit of free XP from other tanks to get to the Jackson. My average enemies destroyed per battle was 1.07. Enemy spot 0.96. Don't expect to do much spotting in this from the ranges you're going to be playing it, but you'll see from some of the replays that I post that I stitch onto the end of this and probably commentate. It dies very quick once you've been seen in it. So it's not great to do that. You really, really ought to sit and rely on your camo net in a bush 500 meters from the front line. But sometimes, just sometimes, you're forced to not do that, and there are a couple of examples where I'll show you that. Or perhaps one example. I forget. It's been a while. I've literally slept once between when I played those games. Anyway. I think that's probably enough talking. I should probably just kind of... You won't bounce things in this tank, in the Wolverine, because it has the same armor structure as this, except this has a bit more armor on the front, 114 instead of 75, or 54 even. So it's got like double the armor. But I probably bounced about 2 shells in the Wolverine. The only place you will bounce them is on the gunman. It was literally the only place I ever bounced a shell, I think, on the Wolverine, because anywhere else, I mean, unless it was, a tier 3, a Panzer 1C shooting at me from the front or something, which I think might have happened a couple of times, that's the only time you will. Any other time, they'll go right through you like paper. Open top turret as well, that was the same for the Wolverine, with both turrets. They're both open topped. So that's not like a benefit of the second one, because with an open top turret, HE shells are much more likely to kill your crew, which is actually something I learned while looking up what the fuck the second turret did on the Wolverine. Also, worth noting that open top turrets mean you can't buy enhanced or improved rather ventilation, because they get the bonus regardless. You see down there it says 76 plus 8%. That plus 8%, I don't know, actually. I think that's just the commander's effect. But supposedly, you get the vents effect by having an open-top turret. But I think that plus 8 is just from the commander. Because obviously vents are 5%. I've got vents on this, and you can see that they have plus 5 and plus 11. Plus 11 from the commander, and plus 5 from the vents. Yeah, so I'm not so sure, but I did read that, so not sure whether or not to believe that. So let's move on to some replays. So we're in a replay with the Wolverine. This is with the second turret. As you can see, it's full of ammo. Excuse me, which I believe does actually convert that into a bit of an ammo rack target. So I'm not sure on that, but it kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Now, while I was doing the garage review, there was some audio fuzz. I fixed that now. I noticed it after I was reviewing the footage, but It was just because I've moved recently into a new place, and my wires were fucked up. So, this is one of the later games I played in the Wolverine. Um, Everything upgraded fully. I don't know if I even have many replays of the ones where I don't, because it was very quick to get it all upgraded. And this tank isn't very fast, guys. And oh dear, I just went backwards a bit in the replay. So let's just speed it up here to where I eventually go. Alright, so this is kind of my go-to place on this map, as a TD anyway, to go here and shoot at people down in that field, hopefully remain unspotted as they all move up. So this tank has a really, really fast reload speed, especially with the turret. Like I said, it increases the reload speed. And the aiming speed is about the same. There we go. I'll put this onto my my actual view during the game. It aims and reloads at roughly the same speed. That's one of the best things about this tank. One of my favorite things, anyway, about this tank. Obviously, the reticule in the replay is a little bit off, but oh well. So when you have that kind of synced up aiming and reload, you can just lay into tanks, and I tracked that Stug there, so I've got to finish him off while he is. And he did it anyway, but so yeah, you can put out a shit ton of damage. Pardon my French, I guess. So aim for that KV1's tracks. That's what I often do as a TD, playing from afar, where I'm relatively safe from shots. I'll go for the tracks, because if I can stop them, I can put a hell of a lot more shells into them than I would if they were moving. Again, his tracks got took out. I'm not sure if that was even me, but so that's 1,174 damage in about 3 minutes there. Pretty fucking good. I think I misled that. Yeah, no, I misled the first one, but I got him the second time. And I kill him. For a decent 4 kills there in the Wolverine in about 4 and a bit minutes. In fact, not even 4 minutes. About 3, in fact. Just over. So the kind of weak point about it, and this is quite good here with this KV1, because I don't get shot by him, if I remember correctly. One of the things I was going to say about the Wolverine is that it's very easy to survive battles in, because you tend to be at a long range from your target and kind of safe for the most part safe anyway. I didn't find myself getting shot at a whole lot, so my survival rate in this game was fairly high. In this tank rather. Compared to usual, anyway. I'm quite an aggressive player. I keep bouncing that KV1. I'm trying to shoot him in the upper hull or something, which is a stupid idea, really, but, you know. So now that they've only got a Panzer 1C and an artillery left, and I can't remember if I get a piece of either, to be honest, so let's just speed this up. Don't think so. I mean, I know that I don't kill him because I label the replays by the number of kills I get. No, yep, there we go. So 4 kills, 1,591 damage in the Wolverine. Okay, so another Wolverine replay, where the game looks very, very heavily in the enemy's favour. Just looking at XVM and being a bit of a stat whore. Their team is numerically better than ours, and that's never a good thing. But it's also not something that I tend to rely on. So the last game was something of a show of playing the Wolverine as it should be, and for some reason that KV1 is telling me to follow him. Perhaps he doesn't know what the Wolverine is. Yeah, that last game was kind of how the Wolverine should be played. Very long range. Oh no, this isn't fully upgraded actually as well. I don't know why that's. Oh no, but this is one of the games where I didn't have the fully upgraded gun or turret for that matter, which actually does still have ammo in it. Can't really see it, but so let's go to my view here. I'm just trying to get some nice easy shots over there onto that. Let's slow it down as well. But obviously at the start of this game, I'm doing very much exactly what I was doing in the last game, where playing this tank as it's kind of supposed to be. I kind of realised that this tank kind of looks like it's slow motion, but it's really not. It's just got a very slow turret. At first, I'm very much sticking to being a long-range, sneaky tank destroyer. But towards the end of the game, things get a little bit weird and hairy. But that's to come. So for a little while, nothing happens. So let's go to ×2. Lots of sitting and waiting. Still can't see that KV1. Nor can I see that Stug. Sometimes you get impatient and start to move up. It's exactly what I do here. And you really shouldn't, but sometimes the game already looks like it's going heavily in their favour. And in fact, I decided to fall back because the middle was lost, and we have 2 artillery sitting there, fairly open. And my plan here was to wait where I am and shoot at the Stug when he's on the way to our artillery, but doesn't quite play out as I expected it to. So I do a lot of waiting. Our KV1 is killed. Or rather, both of our KV1s are killed. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. That's how you play a tank destroyer. You wait. I'm really expecting that Stug. Also, it's worth noting that one of the benefits of the turret on this tank destroyer is that your binocular telescope and camo net won't reset when you move your turret around. Whereas if you move your hull around in a non-turret tank destroyer, they will reset and you'll have to wait a couple of seconds for them to come back. So I'm still waiting. Let's go to ×4. Yep, this one took a while. Right, so we can see a tank. Their Stug went all the way around. I just damaged his track, unfortunately. And our Stug is kind of going to meet him here, which kind of helped me out because he was my forward spot. Not particularly far forward, but I think he moves up. There's the Stug again. Damaged his track there. See, I wasn't sure if I had like damaged his engine or something, just because he was acting really weird there. And I think I tracked him behind that building. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. Either way, should have killed him there, but I took the shot wrong. And then I bounced him, because the Stug is fairly well sloped. And I took a hit, so I'm going to back the fuck up. Because I don't know necessarily what I took a hit from, but artillery is zeroed in on me, and I don't want that at all. Took a blind shot at that T1. I'm not sure if it hit, actually. But now it's me and that artillery against the T-28. I think that's a T-28. Yeah. I need to hold the phone. Show vehicle tier. There we go. T-28, T1 heavy, and 3 artillery, one of whom is already on 3 kills. However, artillery doesn't tend to carry that much ammo, so in a long drawn-out game like this, often doesn't go too well for them. Okay, so there's a T-28 who just miraculously bounced me. It's a remarkably small gun, so it's not that big a deal. Took an artillery hit, so I've got to make a move. Let's pull this down to normal speed. And the T-28 was killed by the artillery. So I shouldn't really be moving here, because there's that T1 heavy, who I'm pretty sure my blind shot did actually hit. And I take a shot on the move, he breaks my gun. I think I repair that. No, I repair the track instead. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess, doesn't it? Alright, so that T1 heavy is almost dead. He took some arty hits, and I hit him a couple times there. In fact, I only hit him once, the rest was artillery. And then I wait. See, when you're forced into the situation where you're like the last tank alive, or the last non-artillery alive, in this tank, that doesn't mean you have to be aggressive. You know, in this case I have the artillery spot, so I'm just trying to spot that T1 so that the artillery can kill him. I don't know where he is currently. And that the LE FH18B2 is telling me that he has 1 shot left, which is not good. So we wait, and we wait, and we wait. Because we are a tank destroyer, and what tank destroyers do is wait. But what replays do is speed up. Okay, so their artillery there, just 1/8 speed, their artillery comes out and gets himself killed. I assume he ran out of ammo, to be honest. Because one of our artillery actually just wasted their last shot on him, which is stupid in my opinion, but... so now, he's gonna roll up here. I just almost took a hit from artillery there. That's why I'm hidden here, because their artillery, their Wesp still has shots, obviously. The T1 heavy pokes around. I'm trying to keep him spotted for our artillery. I'm gonna go in here, because this seems good. And something that may in fact have won us the game. That T1 does something. You'll see. So let's speed it back up to 2 times. You can see the French artillery rolling up there slowly on the side. The T1, as far as I know, is still there. The T25 is for some reason shouting on your right. So there's the T1, and wait, he's aiming at that artillery. What's he doing? Is he mad? So, easy kill. And now it's just this Wesp, who I slowly turn my turret towards, take 1 shot at, and then I miss the second. So, this takes longer than it should, because I miss another... in fact, I know I critically hit him the second time, which is ridiculous. Probably ammo wreck. So he's looking at me there, takes a shot, blows up that wall, and lets me kill him. 4 kills, 1,110 damage. GG. Okay, replay number 3. And this one's kind of paused, is what it is. There we go. This one's kind of a speed it up again. It's an example of kind of staying behind the front line, like staying a couple steps behind the heavies, and apparently kind of dicking around with artillery as well. But I go to the same spot as I went to in the second replay, the last one I showed you, I think. It's been a while since I actually recorded that, so forgive me if I'm wrong. And did what I do, which is wait, although I think I do some things a little bit differently this time around. Well, obviously I do, because the game plays out differently, because World of Tanks is a wonderful, dynamic game that changes to suit many a situation. So, M7 isn't giving me a shot, so I decided to shoot out the building, see if I can get one. Didn't work immediately, but for some reason I kept trying anyway. And in the middle there on the island there's a Churchill and a T-28. And a B1 as well, but I don't think I get any shots at these guys just yet, so... and right now I'm just doing exactly what you'd expect, sitting in a position and trying to snipe off people and support the lines, support the heavies, or the singular heavy in that KV-1's case. Without much success. I've not had much to shoot at yet. Not sure where that BT7 is, because long range, sometimes those markers take a while to update. It's a bit weird. I'm not sure if that's something that only I get, or whether other people get that too. Finally, I get something to shoot at. This Panzer 2G, but the Churchill 3 still remains hidden from my view. So I think now might be about the time that I'm thinking this game is going a bit too fast for me to sit here doing nothing. So apart from this Churchill 3 giving me a couple of shots, I decide, I think about now, speed up to 2 times. After I wait around a little bit longer, nothing's going on. Game is progressing without me. KV-1 over there, so yeah, I'm moving up. I've got a Panzer 4 and a T-82 up there, which is hardly a brilliant attacking force, a brilliant front line, but in fact the Panzer 4 just died. But I'm gonna move to a new spot. So far I've only had 3 shots, or 3 hits rather, for 353 damage, so nothing spectacular yet. But something's shooting at that T-82, so there's something along there somewhere. And some nice shots at Arty. Always fun. And a Matilda 4. Take a shot there at where I assume he probably still was. Churchill 1 behind a building that I'm not sure I can destroy, but I tried. I'm really not sure if... I think the replay was probably not quite displaying my shots accurately there, because well, for a start, it wasn't displaying the outline, which is a bit strange. For when you mouse over an enemy tank, that is. Speed things up, because I'm on the move again. But I don't want to go all the way around and go over that bridge. But I can't see any of those guys that are over there from this range. Oh dear, but from this range, so I'm not really sure. But the KV-1, happy to oblige and come my way. And I apparently just get a critical hit. And track him, and he's already dead. Matilda 4 still hasn't shown up again. Not quite sure whether or not they've moved further into the forest or not. Either way, they're unspotted, and we've got nobody forward to spot them unless that KV-1 moves further up. But there's a Cruiser 4, kind of strange, I thought, and I miss my shot and lose my opportunity. Some more artillery shows up. And I still don't get a shot at him. And then a T-49 on 45 health. Wonderful. Easy kill. Yeah, okay, the replays aren't showing the outlines for tanks when I'm aiming at them, which is odd. And I miss out on that Matilda. But that was a reasonable game. It was an average game, I think. 979 damage from 10 hits and 3 kills altogether. So, there's better, but there's worse as well. So that was kind of a nice demonstration, and it is the last replay, I think, because after 3 replays it's going to start getting quite long, but it's a nice kind of show of staying a couple of steps behind the front line and kind of resisting the temptation to move up, because moving up and trying to go head on, playing like a medium in this tank, so far has done nothing but get me killed. So, I mean, really, that's a result to be happy with. Maybe if I had moved up and gone and got stuck in with all those tanks that were being routed by the... let's pull my cursor out here so that I can show you. All the tanks that were over here originally got pushed over this way, then I was waiting for them to come into my view to shoot at them from where I am. Probably, if I had gone around, I would have gotten some better shots and maybe come out with a 4th kill and a couple hundred more damage. But I didn't do that. I stayed where I was, just because if I went over there, I feel like I probably would have just gotten shot up by that Matilda and it would have DPM'd me to death before I managed to kill it. So yeah, that's just my take on this tank. My average tanker's review of the M10 Wolverine, the M10 Wolverine. And if I can remember the button, there we go. That's a thumbnail. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Leave a comment telling me what you think, if you've got any alternative playstyles for the M10 Wolverine. The next review will probably either be something about the Jackson, because that's the tank I'm playing right now, or one of my other tanks that I'm fond of. And my phone is vibrating. Goodbye.